Okay, well, here we are again, going live. Hello, hello, everyone out there. So the first thing I want to say, I'll repeat this at the end, but the first thing I want to tell you all is starting next week, I'm going to bump this up to 1 hour earlier. So East Coast time will be 12:30 next week, and West Coast time will be 9:30 next week. All right? So today I wanted to address some breathing practices and really open up the body in a way that allows for breathing to flow more easily, as well as do a little bit of pranayama towards the end of our session today that hopefully will improve your, let's call it the elasticity of your breath, okay, so that the breath feels more elastic and not choppy. And I use those terms as a general way to describe the texture of the breath, if you want to use that word. So that's our intention for today. That's my intention today. All right? So let's just find a comfortable way to sit. And I like to sit up on a little bit of height. Maybe you do too. Maybe you don't. But whatever is a comfortable position that works for you, that allows you to elongate the spine, please use that. And then place one hand at your belly, one hand at your chest, and just take a few moments to tune into how you're breathing today. So what we could classify as pranavidya, or awareness of the breath. Notice the rate that you're breathing at right now, the depth, and as I mentioned before, any texture to your breath. So whether it feels like there's a really intense part of the breath, or maybe even a hiccup in the breath, observe that. There may be emotions that arise as you settle into your breath. These days, with this virus going around, I notice any little shortness of breath, any little tightness or discomfort at the back of my throat or in my nose brings up some fear, some anxiety. If that is true for you, be aware of it. Hopefully we'll shift some of that as we go through our practice. Okay. So now we'll come into some stretches in the body that I have found, at least in my own breath practice, are very useful. And I'm going to start with the palm and the fingers. So just begin by extending one hand forward. Elbow still remains a little bit bent. And then with the other hand, pull the fingers back, the four fingers back towards your body. Now that thumb is not just a passive bystander. Go ahead and extend the thumb out and away from the fingers so that you feel some stretch in the palm of your hand and around the wrist. Okay, and then we'll do that with the other hand. So pulling the 4 fingers back. Now I keep this elbow bent. I'm not looking to lock the elbow at all. In fact, I don't really want to lock my joints at all during a breathing practice, any of my joints. And then notice what's going on in this thumb, if there's anything going on in this thumb, and see if you can extend the thumb a little bit away from fingers. Okay, and then we're going to release. And then just lace the hands and send the back of one wrist forward, but with the other fingers, pull the rest of your hand back towards your heart. Yeah? And then this thumb again is going to reach up towards the ceiling or towards the sky, wherever you're practicing. Good. And then we'll switch. So then we'll go to the other wrist. So this wrist, the one that's being stretched, is going to be kind of passive. And the other hand is doing the work of pulling the wrist back. And then the only activity of this stretching wrist is to point the thumb up. Yeah. Good. And then let's keep the fingers laced, point the elbows down, and just start to circle the wrists around, just to kind of release some tension that might be building up. And then go the other way. If you're watching, that means you're using a computer, so you need this, right? We all need this. Okay. Now go ahead and let your hands rest on your lap. And let's begin to circle the torso around the hips. I believe in Kundalini Yoga, they refer to this as stirring the pot. And we're going to go really slowly. Okay. Now continue to go in that same motion, but keep the head still so that it's only the ribs now rotating. Only the ribs rotating around. As still as possible. I'm watching myself on the screen and I can see that my head is moving, but it's not moving at the same rate as the rest of my rib cage when I was doing the first part of the movement. So there will be some wiggling around. All right, and then come back to center. And let's go the opposite direction. Opposite direction. So this is just the regular old stirring the pot. And then we come into what feels like a belly dance move. So head stays still and we rotate the torso around. And I notice, because I'm talking while I'm doing this, that this movement is really affecting my breathing. So if you are still paying attention to your breath, just notice that, how movement, small movement, not a big movement, small movements can have a deep impact on your breathing. All right, come back to center. And now shake hands with yourself. So you're not going to clasp fingers, lace fingers like this, but you're just going to put your palms together and then drape the fingers over. So it's kind of like a handshake with yourself. And start to circle that handshake overhead in whatever shape works for your shoulders. So it may not look completely like a circle, but as you're doing this, bring to mind the previous movement that we did where we kept the head still and we rotated the torso around. You start to feel how the rib cage and the shoulders move together or don't move together, as the case may be. Yeah? One more like that. Oh, la, 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 la. And then we go the other direction. Oh, and I'm probably going about twice the speed that I normally go just because I'm, got a little bit of adrenaline pumping. So I'll try to slow down. Usually my rule of thumb here is one circle is in time with one breath. Oh, yeah. One more in this direction. And then we'll let the hands and shoulders go. Wow. Okay. So now we are ready for cat and cow. And we're going to take a lot of what we just did into our cat and cow movements. If you need something soft under your knees, maybe a blanket or a beach towel or something for your knees, go ahead and set that down. And then you'll come to all fours, placing the wrists right under your shoulders. You know this move, right? And then on your next exhale, push the floor away, draw your navel to your spine, tuck your tail, tuck your chin, make a big rounded dome of the back of your rib cage. And then once all the breath is out, begin to move the other direction on the inhale, letting your belly drop, tail lift, shrug your shoulders out of your ears. Exhale and round your back. And then inhale and arch your back. And go back and forth that way. A couple more times. Feeling into the rib cage. Right? So we know that more of our lung capacity lives in the back of the body. 70%, something like that, is more towards the back of the body. So when you exhale, really think about your lungs opening, getting space. Okay. Now come back to neutral. I'm going to rotate so that you can see the beginning of this movement. And we're going to do something called barrel rolls. So separate your hands a little bit wider than your shoulders. And I'm sorry, the image is cutting me off a little bit here, but so hands wider than the shoulders, and you're going to bring, let's say you'll bring your right shoulder towards your left hand. Yeah? So right shoulder towards left hand, and then scooch the chest across the floor. So now your left shoulder is towards your right hand, and then you'll straighten up and round your back like that cat pose, and then come around again, right shoulder, left hand, slide across the floor, left shoulder, right hand, and round the back. And continue that way. And you'll find the breath rhythm that works for you. Okay? So maybe the sliding across is the inhale, and the dome at the top is the exhale. What I love about this movement is it really allows us to get into the shoulders in a new way. And this pushing action is helpful. I find it's really helpful if you're dealing with some leftover frustration or anger issues. One more this direction. And then at the top, you'll pause and you'll reverse direction. So now it's left shoulder, right hand, slide across, right shoulder, left hand, and then dome. And go across. And a few more. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I think collectively all of my yoga teacher friends decided today was the day to teach about breathing, because I noticed several other Facebook Live posts about breathing. I thought that was really great that we were all on the same page. All right, last one. Exhale up into the dome. Oh, thank goodness. Let's get a little weight off the hands. So send your hips back towards your feet. Take child's pose. And you might even want to lift your hands up and rotate the wrists a little bit. Yeah. And then go in the opposite direction. Okay. Send the hands forward, as far forward as they can go, and walk the hands over to one side, dropping your head. Feel that side bend. And then walk the hands over to the other side. Again, dropping the head, feel the side bend. And then shifting back to center, rise back up to all fours. And let's come into a twist by bringing the hands a little bit forward of the shoulders. We'll take one hand and thread it under the other, walking the hand as far forward as possible. And you can drop one side of your head to the floor. Now you can stay here, or you can bring the free hand to your low back if you like. I like bringing my hand to the floor and just kind of working with my shoulder as much as I can. And then come back up. And let's do the opposite side. Bringing the arm out and then underneath the body. Now I'm going under the couch, but you can find your way around your house. You're letting your head drop and just feeling into the back of the ribs. Okay, coming back to center, and let's pause in all fours, tuck the toes. Let's just take one downward facing dog here. So I like the feet wide apart, at least for the first down dog. Knees can be slightly bent to a lot bent. And then just send the hips up, press the hands down, and feel the connection of your legs to your torso, to your arms. Head is heavy, neck is free. Okay, come on down and lay down on your side. And this is also a good time to have padding underneath your hip. So you're going to lay all the way down on your side. I think I'm going to tilt this a little so you can see a little better. There we go. So lay down on your side and you can take your head in your hand, but try to have the body as straight as possible. And then take this top leg and just bend it. We're just going to come into a little quad stretch here. Yeah. If you're feeling wobbly, weebly wobbly, you can take the bottom leg and bend it so that you have a little more support. Good. Now, is it possible for you to kick your leg into your hand and come into almost like a bow position? And it may not be possible. Your shoulder might say no thank you. Your knee might say no thank you. All right, and then go ahead and release that. And you're going to roll over to the other side to do the other leg. I'm going to stay facing you. So I'm just going to switch around this way. Kind of a odd way to do it, but I want you to be able to see me the whole time. So you come into first this straight leg position. Feel what that's like. If it's very wobbly, you can always bend the bottom leg. Otherwise, you'll just take hold of the top leg, the foot of the top leg, and pull that foot in to stretch the front of your thigh. Yes, for breathing, you need to have good stretch, good pliability in the hip flexors. And then see if you can kick your foot into your hand. I guess this could also be called a version of dancer pose. Okay, and then we release. All right, and then we're going to come back to seated. So for me, I like to sit with a little bit of height. So I'm going to fold my blanket back up and have a seat. Okay, so we did some stretching. If you feel like you need to do a little more of something or other, please do. Snuggle in, make sure that your seat is comfortable. Oh, in this next part, you can also do seated up on a chair or a couch. But sit up tall. Place one hand back to your belly, one hand back to your chest, just like we started. And become aware of your breath. Now ideally we're breathing through the nose, but if you're congested, then what's more important is that you breathe in a way that is easy and free. So no strain, no force. If you are breathing through your mouth, you'll want to take a few swallows every now and then, just because it does dry your mouth out. So we're going to begin to sip the breath out. There is a tendency on the exhale, as you are sipping the breath out, to collapse at the torso. So I want you to be aware that the spine remains tall. It's a nice tall structure on which to practice these breathing techniques. Okay? So let's just start with a gentle, easy breath in. Sip half the breath out and pause. And then the remainder of your breath out. And try that again. Next exhale, half the breath out and pause. And the remainder of your breath out. This next time, sip a third of your breath out. Pause. A third of the breath out. Pause. And then the remainder of your breath out. A full, complete breath in. Try that again. You may be going slower than me, that's fine, or faster than me, that's also fine. Third out, a third out, and then the last bit, and a full breath in. One more time like that. Now notice if there's a sense that you are bearing down on the pelvic floor, and see if you can keep the pelvic floor pulled up slightly. Now you can remain with these 3 sips out, or if it's feeling comfortable, you can go to 4 sips out. And what that would appear to be in my breath is I sip out a little and pause, sip out a little more, pause, sip out a little more, pause, and the last bit of breath out, and then a full breath in. Okay, so we're just going to do a few rounds, either 3 sips or 4 sips, depending on what works for you. Make sure the inhale is gentle and smooth. Okay. Next time you exhale out, just 1 sip out. Sip out, pause, and then the remainder of the breath out. Okay? Do that a couple times. And then return to your uninterrupted breath. notice if there's any sense of elasticity in the exhale. Okay. And on the next inhale, we're going to begin to sip on the inhale. So you'll empty all the breath out. And then on your next inhale, draw half the breath in and pause. Remainder of the breath in. And then a full, smooth breath out. Try that again. Half the breath in and pause. Remainder of your breath in. And a full, smooth breath out. Now this time, see if you can break it up into 3. Sip a third, pause. Sip another third, pause. Sip the last third, and then a slow, smooth breath out. And try that again. And you can remain here, sipping 3 times if that feels challenging enough for you, or you can move to 4, like this. Sip a fourth and pause, another fourth and pause, another fourth and pause, and the last bit, and then the exhale out. So whether you're doing 3 or 4 sips, continue on your own, couple more rounds. Keep the shoulders soft. Keep the top of your head reaching towards the ceiling or towards the sky. Now, once you finish this next inhale, exhale the breath all the way out and then just go back to sipping once. So half the breath in and pause, other half in, and then full breath out. And do that 2 more times on your own. And the next time you complete your exhale, return to your uninterrupted breath. And tune into those qualities of your breath. How deep, how smooth, how slowly are you breathing? And then still breathing that way, but releasing your hands to rest. Simple, simple little mantra to bring into the breath. As you draw the breath in, you say to yourself, nourishment in. And then as you exhale, you say to yourself, waste out. Nourishment in. Waste out. Whatever you need today, whatever you need to store in your lungs, your tissues, your whole being, draw it in. And whatever doesn't belong anymore, send it back out. Nourishment in. Waste out. Okay. Thank you all so much. I hope you felt a little change in your breathing. And thank you for taking this breather with me. And I look forward to next time. So don't forget, next time we meet, next week will be 12:30, not 1:30 Eastern Time. All right, have a wonderful day. Take care, everyone.